All right, it's 5:30, time to call the commission meeting to order. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, gentlemen, have you had a chance to look over the agenda? Do you have any amendments to bring forward on that?
I have none.
And I have none either.
All right, I entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
I move that we adopt the agenda as presented.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried, 3-0. All right, next on the agenda, appointments. The first are the tree board. And we have applications, they're due by March 5th, 2021. So I encourage those out there that would like to become involved on one of the city boards. They do important work for the city and for the commission. I would like for you to consider if you have some experience and would like to be part of this tree board, please apply and make sure that application is turned in by March 5th, 2021. We're always looking for fresh faces, for people to come up that have a passion for sitting on a board and making their voices heard. So I'm asking the public to please consider that. And then item B, we also have applications due for IHPRC, and they are due by March 5th, 2021. So once again, we're looking for people that have the enthusiasm and passion, that want to serve, that want to learn more about being on a board and helping make decisions that will benefit the city as a whole and help the commissioners out. Be greatly appreciated. So if you have that drive and passion, you want to step forward, and especially if you're a new face, please apply and you will be considered. All right, moving along. We've all had a chance. We've already approved the adoption of the agenda. Do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda? Do we have any issues there, gentlemen?
I move that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Do I have?
I'll second the motion.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion carried, 3-0. All right, item 4, public hearings. Item number 1, public hearings to consider condemnation of the following structures as dangerous and unsafe. Number 1, 801 East Birch Street. Yes, sir. How are you? Would you please give your name, identify yourself?
I'm Tyler Henry. I'm the building inspector for the City of Independence.
Welcome, Tyler. I don't think I've met you.
Oh.
Good to see you.
Thank you, you too. 801 East Birch Street. Alicia Florio is working on rehabilitation of the structure. City staff recommends adjourning for 120 days.
She's given a timeline and worked that out with you that's satisfactory.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you didn't have any issues with that?
Nope.
Okay. And now she's also rehabbed other properties in the city, and she's been good to
Yes.
work with. We've not had any issues.
Yes, she has several rentals in town.
Okay. Okay, that name sounded familiar. All right. Good, gentlemen. Commissioner Hayes, do you have any questions for the building inspector?
I have none.
Commissioner Bliss?
I don't have any questions either.
All right, so do I have a motion?
I make a motion that we adjourn the public hearing till June
24th
June 24th, 2021
at 5:30.
at 5:30.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carried. Item number 2, 1020 West Myrtle Street. And this will be go ahead.
Okay. 1020 West Myrtle Street. A previous potential buyer has returned the house back to Paul Horvath, and there has been no work done on the structure. Mr. Horvath has not returned any timelines, and he will not meet with me in person to discuss this house. Staff recommends condemning this house as dangerous and unsafe.
Is this the gentleman that had purchased a pretty sizable number of properties in the city here? It's been several months ago from Lawrence?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I think I'm familiar with him. Yeah, the house looks pretty rough. Looks like the windows are out.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I have a couple of questions.
Yes.
The house, is it vacant or is it occupied at this point?
It is vacant.
And is it hooked up to utilities or disconnected from utilities at this point?
It's disconnected.
Thank you.
This house, from driving by numerous times in this neighborhood, it's been abandoned for quite a while, hadn't it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Commissioner Bliss, do you have any questions?
I have no questions.
All right, do I have a motion then?
I move to adopt a resolution condemning 1020 West Myrtle Street as dangerous and unsafe.
Do I have a second?
I second the motion.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carried, 3-0. Item number 3, 2009 and a half North Penn Avenue. Yes, Tyler.
Michael Morris has provided a timeline for repairs of this structure, and city staff recommends adjourning for 120 days.
And this is the building behind the fitness center.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay. And that one, I think, had primarily smoke damage.
Yes.
And the building, structurally, it seemed like it was in good shape. It basically needed an interior redone.
Correct.
Okay. And if I understood right, these people were from Oklahoma City, maybe?
Yes, they are.
And they needed some extra time to, due to weather and COVID and all that, to put a plan together. And you're satisfied with what their plan is?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Gentlemen, any questions?
I have none.
And I have none either.
All right. Do I have a motion?
I move to adjourn the public hearing until June 24th, 2021 at 5:30.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries. Item 5, items for commission action. Item A, consider a request for approval of the exact location for a statue of Remington at the northwest corner of Penn and Laurel.
And Mayor, I'm going to let David cover this one because the location has moved from the location we put in your packet, and I'll let him explain why.
All right, David, go ahead.
Mayor and Commission, after Rusty received the final, the base is bigger and the statue of the dog is going to be, it's going to be roughly almost 5 to 6 feet in the air. So it would obstruct some of the line of vision. So visiting with Rusty today, we kind of moved the box off to the west over near the tree grate, and he is comfortable with that over in that area, which would take it out of the line of sight issues for traffic, and he's fine with however we determined to set it over there.
It doesn't restrict the walkway
No,
in either direction.
Yeah, there's plenty of room over there to allow for the ADA width to get through. His only questions, which again, we can work with him to build the base for it. We kind of have it sitting on the brick there. He didn't know if it might be better to cut out the concrete and put the base in for the statue in the concrete versus where the brick was. So it could move just a little bit over there on the west side, however the commission feels would best. And we also talked about maybe a bench being by it where somebody could sit and look at the statute or eat or whatever around there if they wanted to.
I think for visibility, that's much better location and tie-in with, people get a better understanding from the plaque and the direction, just this isn't just a statue of a dog, but a particular one, and tie in why there's a fire bell and why there's the quail shown with it too. So I think this is much more meaningful for the statue to locate there. I think that's a good idea.
As far as I'm concerned, as long as it does not obstruct the sight lines for the traffic, and as long as it doesn't really disrupt pedestrian patterns for walking through there, this is it's a perfectly okay location for me.
All right. I don't have any other further questions. David, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right. Do I have a motion for this?
I move to authorize the placement of a Remington statue on the northwest corner of Penn and Laurel at the exact location as presented.
Do I have a second?
I second the motion.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried, 3-0. Item B, consider adopting a resolution declaring a financial emergency relating to anticipated high utility bills due to prolonged sub-zero wind chills.
Mayor, last Friday, we met with the county emergency manager and we watched the league presentation, which I believe we forwarded to you to review. The league recommended that we go ahead and adopt this, and they actually prepared it and sent it out to all the cities, and they recommended any city that could be impacted to adopt this so that if any aid becomes available, then the citizens would be eligible for that. Also, the county adopted theirs on Monday, I believe. So we're just trying to do everything we can do. We don't know how this is all going to shake out with the utility bills, but we want to make sure that anything we can do to lessen that impact or provide any aid if it becomes available that we should do.
On this resolution, when you're talking about funding, you're talking about not only on the federal level, but if there's money that comes available at state level, this would set us up to receive funding from both sources if there are
Yes.
funding available.
Yes, that's my understanding. And like I said, the league wrote this. Amanda Stanley,
Okay.
who's their league attorney, is the one who prepared this document.
Okay. Commissioner Hayes, do you have any questions concerning this?
No, it seems like a fairly rational preliminary step in preparation for what might be coming. I know that there have been significant cost impacts for communities, and it's going to be a while before we actually understand how impactful this cold weather has been to us. So this preliminary step seems appropriate. Thank you.
Commissioner Kaflish?
So this funding, if it is released, would it be administered by the city, or how do you know any
Generally,
information?
so far, all the funding we've gotten through things like this is kind of filtered through the county. I don't know if that's how it would on this, but I anticipate it would. It's actually most important for the county to do their resolution, and basically the cities is just kind of a backup to that and shows we're all on the same page.
I did receive a call from a citizen wondering if there was going to be funds available, and I guess was wondering how we would get the word out to the public. Would we put that on our website and Facebook once we know?
Yeah, once we get information that there's assistance available, we'll put that out in any way we can.
Okay. Then with that, you would have a number, should they have questions, to call and talk to staff at City Hall.
Right,
Okay.
or whoever's administering it. It depends on how they filter it down.
Yeah.
I know staff was very involved in the last piece that we got that filtered through the county.
'Cause right now, we have no idea whether it goes through the utility company and they would apply,
Yeah.
or a third party.
Yeah.
Okay,
We just want to be prepared.
yeah. I have no other questions about it.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. Do I have a motion then?
I move to adopt a resolution declaring a financial emergency relating to anticipated high utility bills due to prolonged sub-zero wind chills.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion carried, 3-0. Item C, consider awarding a demolition bid for 201 East Main Street.
Mayor, as you know, this building, we had a structural engineer look at this building, has determined that it is dangerous and unsafe and could come down at any time. And therefore, we have sought bids for the removal of this structure. I also need to preface that it is in the historical district, and it will require state to go to the state historic for their review prior to a demolition of the building. And it's possible that they always usually determine no, and it could come back and require commission further action to get the demolition of the building because it's in a historic district. But city received bids, and the city is asking to award the bid for 201 East Main for a maximum of $43,200, subject to the state historic preservation approval of removal of the building to G&G Dozier.
All right, David, thank you. I have a request here to address the commission from a James Beechner. Mr. Beechner, would you please approach the podium? You have a 3-minute time limit to make your presentation.
Thank
So
you.
go ahead, sir.
Thank you for allowing me to speak here this evening. First of all, I want to thank the city and the city fire department for allowing me to help me with our fire trucks and water last summer on the last city contract we did in last summer for the City of Independence. I really appreciated their help. And also, because I feel integrity is valuable and very important in this matter, I would ask the city not to award the bid to G&G contractors because my net bid is $41,000. And I can explain that with the documentation I have with me. And based on the specs that I had submitted my bid by and followed by, I have some things I just wanted to point out. And that is, number one, does G&G's bid include the removal of floor slabs? The bid specs mention only roof and walls. Also, that a common wall is to remain intact. G&G's bid $43,200 for line A total bid. Does it include that? G&G add $3,000 for removal of width wall, line B. That's an add-on. That would increase his bid to a new total. G&G's line C is a deduct from the total amount bid. It's in parentheses. He's written in $40,200 in parentheses. His bid is now $3,000 if you take the deduct, which makes it an irregular bid. And the concrete still remains. What is G&G's price for removal of the concrete? Is it clear that is it clear in his removal price? Is it included in the total bid when the specs say slabs are to be left? JRB's net bid with removal of concrete is $41,000. No questions asked. Should the city accept irregular bids over non-responsible bids? Where's G&G at now? I guess I used up part of my 3 minutes.
All right, Mr. Beechner.
So that's my main question, is they asked you not to award the job now. And unless further review be necessary, perhaps maybe a rebid. I'd be interested in rebidding the project if things are all clarified more. But the specs do say that the east wall that abuts the neighboring property is to be preserved. And when you consider that, I have the lowest bid of $41,000 with my deduct for $7,000 on the concrete, which I wrote that in there so there would be no misunderstanding, because after visiting with Dave Schwenker prior to the bid opening, I even mentioned that I will add a line D to relieve the slabs and a deduct. So I put the $7,000 in parentheses because that is a deduct, along with C. So when you take my bid of $49,500, which I only increased it after talking to ACM Removal, and they told me that their bid for removing the asbestos alone was $13,000. So I increased my bid. You'll see where I crossed out $39,500. I increased my bid to $49,500 because of the asbestos. They do not want to remove the width on the east, so the item B is a wash. Same with item C. If we decide to take out, it has to come out. $1,500 to take it out. So if you take out the $1,500 plus $7,000, that's $8,500 off of $49,500, leaves $41,000, which is the low bid. because the other bid does not clear whether concrete stays or remains, but my bid is clear that it comes out for a deduction. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Beecher, thank you very much.
David, did you review the other bid with the other bidder?
Yes. 43,200 removes the building, including the width and the slab. However, all of them have been told, due to the environmental concern, which we have confirmed through Ken Brown, that there was a service station there, as Commissioner Kaflish thought, back in 1929 to 1931, I believe. So there is that concern, and KDH&E has asked us to take the building down and temporarily leave the slab and allow them to do their testing. Once their testing is complete, the slab will be removed. And Mr. Gorby is aware of that the slab needs to stay for a short term. And then once our testing is complete to KDHE's satisfaction, then the slab will be removed at $43,200 maximum.
Now, when they do these samples, they're looking for contaminants
Right.
on the site.
Yeah, I'm sure, I would assume they're checking to see if the gas tanks are still there or any contaminants in the soil from the gas tanks being there.
Okay. And there was mentioned asbestos. There's asbestos in
Yes, the contracts all require the contractors are responsible for the asbestos removal. We
Okay.
make that their responsibility, and how they do that is a part of their bid.
Okay, so that's included.
And that's included in the
each of each of the
43,000.
companies that bid,
Yes.
that was already included in their bid.
Yes, I know
Okay.
Mr. Gorby has already reviewed it with the state of how he's gonna handle the asbestos.
Okay. Commissioner Hayes, do you have questions concerning this?
I do not.
Commissioner Kaflish, do you have questions concerning this?
Just to make clear, I understand the bid from G&G Dozer for total removal, concrete slab, width of brick wall is 43,200.
Correct.
And the total removal of slab and the width is 49,500 from Beechner.
Correct.
So with that, we're looking apples to apples.
Yes.
Okay.
So may I ask a question then, of course? That does raise the question, is the $40,200 deduct for leaving the width rational? Does that make sense to you?
No, that is an error that Mr. Gorby, when I called and questioned 43,200, the 3,000 is if the width is left at, and his bid of $40,200 to remove the slab and the building. So he just did his addition down. 43.2 removes everything. If a determination, we cannot assess the width till after the building is down. The width is the party wall that adjoins the building to the east.
Right.
If we determine after that, when John Garris and myself and possibly the structural engineer look at the width and we determine that the width needs to stay, his bid of 43,200 would go to 40,200 to remove everything else. It was an irregularity in the bid, which our bid allows us, in the best interest of the city, to look at that and determine that.
So for all the work that's been specified, and there will not be anything issued to exceed 43,200. The only
Correct.
would be the deduct.
The only thing would
For
be the
that.
deduct on the width, if the width stays.
And then that would bring that bid to $40,200.
$200. That's why we said the max on it would be $43,200, not to exceed. The removal of that building, $43,200.
So with that, then the apparent low bidder with that information is G&G Dozer.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Gentlemen, any further questions?
I have no further questions.
Commissioner Hayes?
I'm good.
All right. Then do I have a motion on this?
I move to award G&G Dozer the demolition bid for 201 East Main for a maximum of $43,200, subject to approval by the State Historic Preservation Office.
Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carried, 3-0. All right, item D, consider adopting a charter ordinance exempting the city from certain statutory provisions relating to municipal court and an ordinance providing for substitute provisions for procedures in municipal court. Jeff or David?
Oh, okay, perfect. Jeff, do you want to explain this?
Some time ago, city staff was, they have an employee that's animal control officer, Charlie Benedict, valuable employee. And they, he's very knowledgeable on the animal control issues, plus he's a certified law enforcement officer. The question rose up, could he serve, they call it process. Process means warrants, notice to appear and all this, for city court. And since he was a certified law enforcement officer, he could. But then you look at Aaron, who is code enforcement, and actually Tyler too. They are not certified law enforcement, but they have similar roles with the city, and they come across violations from time to time, and it would be convenient for them to be able to issue and serve citations. So we researched what other cities have done, and the practice has been for us to exempt ourselves from certain state statutes which say only certified law enforcement officers can serve process for city courts. And you do that via a charter ordinance. And then if the charter ordinance, when you do a charter ordinance, you have to publish it. There's a 60-day protest. And on the 61st day, if there's no protest, it becomes an ordinance. Then you can adopt by a regular ordinance. And in this case, what we did, we made a new category of city employee, much to your chagrin probably. We called a city officer, and it can be an already existing employee. Like you could designate Aaron or Tyler, recommend they have some training, whoever's in charge of that, Dave or the chief of police, on how to serve process. You can't just let anybody do it. But
Right.
it would authorize a city officer then to assume the role of a process server for city court. So if Erin's out there and sees a violation, she'll have a notebook or a pad with there's a form we've put in the ordinance. She can write it up and issue it, without having to run back to City Hall and get a law enforcement officer. And all it is like a speeding ticket. You give it to the person, and they have a court date, and that's it. And she served them. Right now, she can't do that. So that's the motivation behind it. Did I leave anything out, Dave?
No, other than we're kind of lucky at this point. In the past, our animal control has always just been like an Aaron or a Tyler. And Charlie enjoys being animals, and it's a law enforcement. But, if someday Charlie retires or moves on, it's likely that person will just be a civilian. So we're trying to cover those bases and provide, plus we're trying to give more coverage. Aaron and Tyler and Charlie all are cross-training. Like I know Tyler picked up a dog the other day when Charlie was busy, so that we can just provide better service to the community at times. And then it takes a tremendous support from Jerry too, because there's a criminal aspect that Jerry handles. His officers also handle nights and weekends, so it's a group effort, but we're trying just to improve our customer service to the citizens of Independence.
Makes a more efficient operation
Yes.
if we're able to give that authority to people that are already
Yes.
on the staff, that
Yeah.
are being the ones that are going to issue the citations,
Right.
because they're the ones that
Yeah.
are identifying them and confronting the public with
And
those.
Lacey's taken steps further, and Jerry, we're working on improving our webpage and the ability for people to pay stuff online and putting all of the court stuff online. So, I mean, we're working to improve our customer service, to make the system more efficient and to serve our public. So there's a lot coming with all of this in the near future as we improve our customer service and for the citizens.
All right. Commissioner Hayes, do you have questions for Dave? Dave or Jeff?
I don't, but I do want to applaud your efforts to cross-train and utilize all of the city's employees in taking advantage of their talents and abilities as you see fit, because this is the way we do not only help the citizens, but we also help the employees improve and increase their skill sets.
Yes.
So please continue to do that. I applaud that effort.
Thank you.
Commissioner Kaplis?
Yeah, I have no questions.
All right, then, do I have a motion?
I need a charter ordinance number
13.
13. I move to approve charter ordinance number 13, exempting the city from certain statutory provisions found in the Code for Municipal Courts.
I second it.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carried, 3-0.
And is there this other motion? I move to approve ordinance number 13 for substitute provision.
4351.
Oh, excuse me.
Sorry.
What?
4351.
Okay, I'll begin again. I move to approve ordinance number 4351 for substitute provisions for Independence Municipal Court.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion carried, 3-0. Item E, consider rescheduling a special meeting to discuss city facilities. This was one that we had to reschedule due to weather, some harsh weather that hit our area. So, gentlemen, let's start looking at dates and seeing what we can come up with in agreement.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
the commission already has a work session scheduled for 9 a.m. on March the 17th.
Okay.
Would that work for the two of you?
Yeah, that would work for me. March 17th, 9 a.m.
Yeah, the 17th would be fine.
Perfect.
St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah.
We're agreeing. All right, so we're all in agreement for March 17th, which was scheduled as a work session for 9 a.m. So do I have a motion?
I move to set a special commission meeting on March.
Do you have a sheet on that?
Is that second? Public concern that I did put up there for you? The
I
public
can't-
concern.
I can't hear what you're saying.
There's a
Oh,
public
I'm
concern.
Someone handed
Myself.
a public
Let me
concern to
back up
David.
here. Let me back up. I missed this. I saw it and then I missed it again. Okay, before we go any further with that, my apologies, my mistake. I have a request to address the city commission. Andy Taylor. Mr. Taylor, how are you this evening?
Andy Taylor, 134 Wood Lane Drive, and I probably will not use the all 3 minutes. This is an issue that baffles me. Several months ago, this body voted 2-1 to proceed with the Phase 2 City Hall Workspace Plan. It was a decision that I feel had taken much too long to render, but it was a decision that finally came to fruition after considerable discussion with involvement from professionals with Trainer HL, and was partly based on the previous recommendation of the City Hall Task Force. Now, several months later, I feel this project has returned to dead center because one commissioner seems to believe to have a better idea. Here's my concern. This body has already cast a public decision. It threw its support for a plan. It might not be the perfect plan, but it is nonetheless a roadmap for the future use of the 1916 City Hall. Why are we now taking time to revisit this process and look at ideas that should have been discussed during the task force process? Why is this body unable to move forward with this original plan, the Phase 2 plan? It bothers me that we're allowing one person who was the lone dissenter a chance to delay this project. Stop it, please. This is not good governance. This is not good leadership. This is almost bordering on silliness. My patience with the City Hall project, and let me remind you, it's been 5 years and 2 months since we occupied Building D. My patience and the patience of many other citizens is growing very thin. We have a chance to move forward, yet I feel we're moving backward. And Commissioner Hayes, let me be honest with you, I'm at a loss to understand your argument, sir. 1 month it's let's stay in Building D. Next month it's let's put our city offices in Memorial Hall. I don't get it. Especially after this body went through considerable discussion and made its voice known and put its stamp on a project. Why are we even considering this special meeting? Please, please, let's move forward with the plan that you put in place. I thank you.
Thank you, Andy.
Kelly, can you clarify a question? The way I understood that the process that we approved is still going forward. We're waiting on the time schedule and the agreement from,
From Vance, and I have not received that yet.
okay. So we're still going forward as we voted. This is just discussion regarding that,
Regarding
that proposal.
alternatives and also the RFP to market Building D,
Okay,
and to discuss that.
yeah. So we're not stopping anything that we
No.
already approved to go forward with just the other discussion.
Correct. We're still waiting on the architect to provide that.
Kelly, have they given some type of a timeline as when they will be responding back to us?
The subcontractor is going to be in town, is it next week or the week after?
I think it's next week. It might be the next.
I think it's the week after. I think it's the 9th.
Yeah, you're correct.
And he's coming to town to kind of look at things, and I think
Okay.
their subcontractors they're waiting on to get information from them.
That's
To
the
put some-
consultants?
I think it must be
Yeah.
that
we-
construction manager at risk and all of that.
Okay.
They're coming to town to take a look at the building.
And did Vance get us the information that he was gonna send us about the contract manager, construction manager at risk?
He
Yeah.
hasn't sent me anything that I haven't sent to you,
Okay.
so I can remind him.
If I understood right, did he not have an engineering firm come on board to help in the process? I think the last email I got from you, Kelly.
Yeah, that's the company that's coming in a couple of weeks, isn't it?
That's the gentleman that's
They were here
coming.
at the last meeting. Vance was here, I think.
Yeah, it seems like I saw an email where the MEP contractor was in next week gonna be
So
available.
he's the one that will be coming here and to look at the facility.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Okay.
basically, it's in process, and we're
Okay.
just waiting for Trainer to get all their information.
Okay. And also, we're still waiting on some window trim and a couple of windows that complete the actual window project for the 1916 facility. So those are still being built, or are they en route? Do
I
we
haven't
actually know?
gotten a new progress report since the last one I sent you, I think about a week ago, so I haven't gotten any new updates on that
Okay.
this week.
Okay.
So I can ask him.
Okay. And then also this work session is actually going to be to present how we are going to market the
That's part of it, yes.
Building D, because we are moving forward with on to phase 2, and we're trying to wrap this up as efficiently and as quickly as we possible so we can move on down the road. So, but I also consider, as a commissioner, my 2 other fellow commissioners, you know, sometimes we take a step back and we sit and we listen to what each other have to say on a particular topic. And it's just a courtesy that we do. It doesn't necessarily mean that we're in agreement or disagreement, but it's just a courtesy that we provide. But this is a twofold work session, and I'm interested to see how we market the building. I know I've had a long conversation with you and the liaison for, was it Roger Marshall? The other day on a phone contact. And we talked about the marketing, about the facility, and I gave some examples of how, in Oklahoma in particular, on some of this CARES money, due to COVID, they're building a new VA hospital in Tulsa. They're using that money to supplement and help support the VA hospital in Muskogee. They have a growing number of veterans that live in the Tulsa vicinity, so they're building a facility. It's either Park Hill or Park Lane in Tulsa. Last spring, built a brand new 200-bed unit adolescent treatment facility for drug and alcohol abuse. So the need out there is critical. Usually mental health, those services are the first ones to be cut. So it has always baffled me. We have an actual medical facility that could be turned into either a hub for VA purposes, or it could be turned into a mental health facility, which Lord knows the state of Kansas could sure use, and we could use it here in this region, rather than transporting patients from this area to Wichita or Topeka or to Kansas City or to wherever. We already have an existing facility that's not been modified, with some minor modification could be turned into one of those facilities. So to me, it's just a no-brainer to push the use of that facility for one of those 2 projects. Because like I said, why build a facility when the state of Kansas, in particular Independence, Kansas, already has a facility on site?
Point
So
of order.
it is an asset to the community, and it can be viewed as an asset if we turn it into
Mr. Mayor.
the right project.
I have a point of order here, if
Sure.
you don't mind.
Go ahead.
We have a item in front of us for consideration of rescheduling a special meeting to discuss the city facilities, and I'm prepared to make that motion now.
Okay. All right. Go ahead.
I move to set a special commission meeting on March 17th, 2021 at 9 a.m. to discuss city facilities.
Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion carried, 3-0. All right, item 6, reports. We've had a chance, gentlemen, you've had a chance to review the Library Board of Trustees reports and the City Board minutes.
I have no questions regarding them.
All right. Moving along, item number 8, Commissioner comments. Commissioner Hayes, you have any comments for
I
this
have no
evening?
comments this evening.
Commissioner Kaflish?
And I have no comments either.
All right. I would just like to pass on my thanks to city staff and all the city workers, especially those that do not get a weather break. They work in all types of weather, heat, cold, and extreme cold. I applaud them for continuing to do what they needed to do, and it was trying at times but I appreciate all the hard work, all the water breaks that the crews had to work on, and they're still working on. It's appreciated by the commission and by the city that we have people that are willing to do that, and evidently we've gone through without having any serious injuries, which could have been being with the adverse conditions that we were facing. So kudos to city staff and all the city workers that maintain the services during this extreme time. Thank you.
Mayor,
Yes.
you skipped my comments.
Oh, Kelly, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Is it okay if I proceed?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to give you an update on something that had been brought up before, and had went to the planning commission, and I've talked to Jeff about it. It's on the county parking lot with the conditional use permit at Wald and Myrtle. And Jeff and I went back and reviewed that, and we had got back with the county and advised them that what they need to do is reapply for that conditional use permit, because it actually was issued in 2010, and it was extended 2 or 3 times by the commission, but it's expired in December 2018. And so we recommended that they reapply for that. And we also recommend that they could reapply for rezoning at the same time, because their other property is an industrial zone and this parking lot's actually in a residential zone. And that way it would match their other properties as well. And I know that they're wanting different restrictions than what the code will allow. And the planning commission, in doing the conditional use permit, cannot include restrictions that are lesser than what the code requires. They can make it more restrictive, but they cannot make it less restrictive. But when it comes to you guys, on your level, there is something in the code that says that you can modify the requirements if you feel it's in the interests of the public good. And so you would have the opportunity to look at that, and you could make those modifications, but the planning commission cannot do that. So that is one option. Another option is they go through the process, they could apply for a variance for those. I don't know if the variance would be granted or not, because they're all things that the code requires, but I mean, that certainly is something that they could do. So those are the options. We advised them what those options were. I haven't received a rezoning application or a conditional use application from them, but I just want to let you guys know what is going on, and then I'd reviewed it with Jeff. Jeff, did I cover that accurately?
Yes.
So I just wanted you guys to be in the loop, what's going on. We do want to work this out, of course, with the county, but we have to follow the code we have.
Right.
And if there's something in the code, of course, that you guys want us to look at and want us to modify the code, we can initiate a text amendment and look at that. So that's always another option too. You know, we modify the code a lot, things change, maybe it needs to be looked at. That's something, if you guys can initiate a hearing before the planning commission, and the planning commission can do that. Those are the two ways that occurs. So just wanted to let you know about that. Do you have any questions?
So if they request rezoning, do they need the conditional use permit?
Yes, because it's supplementary parking and it requires a conditional use permit, but it's going to make you're going to have more restrictions anytime you're in a residential
Right.
zone and you're actually using it for a commercial use.
So then it basically with rezoning, now all their property in that location would be as
The same
one
zone.
zone, not two different.
Now, they have the option too, they can park vehicles all under one ownership, and it doesn't have to be hard surfaced. And that's something that could be done as well. But it's a residential zone, and that creates some additional issues. Originally, they were gonna pave it, they were gonna do the screening from the residential properties and everything, so it was not going to be an issue. They were gonna make sure that there wasn't gonna be lighting that you know, went into the neighbors. I mean, all those restrictions were in there. They were gonna have to make sure it had the proper ingress and egress and all of that. When it was originally approved in 2010, they had planned on doing that, and then it didn't happen. Then they came back and they we're concerned about the costs. With the hard surfacing, which we found out with the driveway, it's not cheap. So anyway, so I just wanted to let you know that's what's going on with that project.
Are they going to work with you so that all those details, the options are covered with their resubmission of application?
Well, if you will recall, a couple years ago, they resubmitted all the things that they wanted modified. I don't know what they will do, but I anticipate they'll probably bring that back to you when it goes to the second step of the conditional use permit to come back to you guys for consideration. And that's when you could consider what if anything, you feel could be waived for the public good. So that would be the
Okay.
time for you. See, previously, that item was tabled, it was never brought back up, and since then, it expired.
Right.
And so now enough time has gone by, we really need to notify those property owners within 200 feet so they know what's going on. It really needs to restart the process. The conditional use permit actually was supposed to be done within a year or so of it originally being issued, but the commission, they came back years later and the commission wanted to work with them, of course, so they went ahead and extended it. Then after it was extended, then they came back and did not want to meet those requirements, and then that was tabled. So that's kind of where we're at.
Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you,
Yep.
Kelly.
So, and with that, I wanted to let you know that we're working with Mackie on the survey. I will get a draft copy out to you so you can take a look at it, see if you have any modifications. We're wanting to get that out, mailed out to our residents the end of March and into April, with the utility billings. So, that is in process. So I wanted to give you an update on that. And then I was on the same line as you, Mayor. I wanted to thank our crews, especially our water sewer crews. Some of them, they had a video. Their coveralls were so hard, I think they could have stood up on their own because they were frozen solid because they get soaked and it was so cold. And so we want to do something special for them. So if you have any ideas, we would like to do that. All of our crews did a great job, but those guys were really, they were out, they were soaked. And it was so bitterly cold, and we are very proud of the job that they did in very extreme circumstances, so. And that's all I have.
All right, Kelly, thank you very much. And sorry,
Oh, that's okay.
I looked at the one eye. Never mind, I'll explain it later. It's not worth going over here right now. Okay, and now we have, where is it? I had it here.
I've got an extra copy.
Well, I printed all that off.
Here's one.
All right, we've already heard our public concerns. We didn't have any more. We're going to call for an executive session, and it is consultation with an attorney on matters that would be deemed privileged in an attorney-client relationship. So my motion for an executive session is, I move that we recess for an executive session for consultation with the city's attorney regarding possible litigation pursuant to the attorney-client privilege exception, KSA 75-4319B2. And we will need 30 minutes. Would that be plenty, be sufficient? And that will include the commissioners, Jeff Chubb, Kelly, and David. And it is, I've got 6:25. So the meeting will resume at 6:55. Is that right? At 6:55. So that is the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Okay. right, Till. All right, the meeting is back in session. From our executive session, there was no action taken, and we are moving to adjournment. I make a motion that we adjourn.
Second it.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried, 3-0. Thank you.